Hi guys, and welcome to the Watch Lobby. In today's video, we have a piece that's gone under the radar of a lot of enthusiasts. A piece that has similar design aesthetics to that of the ever so popular Seiko Alpinist. We have the Orient Star GMT, reference DJ00002B, also known as the Orient Star Seeker. I picked up this stunning Star Seeker back in 2013. For several years, this was my go-to piece. As you may see in the video, there will be a few scratches throughout the watch, which really shows how much I've worn this piece over the years. Let me give you a quick rundown of what Orient Star is. Most of you would have heard of Orient in the likes of the Orient Ray or Mako and the Orient Bambino, because those pieces present an incredible amount of value. Almost like Seiko, Orient have a tiered marketing system. The Orient line being their extreme value for money pieces. Up from there we have the Orient Star line, where watch nerd tech specs start to pick up, and it's capped off by the Royal Orient line, as some have said is in line with Grand Seiko. I won't make that claim myself just yet, as I've never actually handled a Royal Orient. If you have any experience with Royal Orient, please leave a comment down below, letting us all know how you would rank them. What we have here is the Orient Star Seeker, which places this in Orient's middle tier. But don't let that fool you though. Relative to other similarly priced pieces, this is absolutely incredible. When released in 2012, this Star Seeker was priced right around $1,100 US. However, finding a sale or coupon code wasn't that difficult for this piece back then. I had this Orient Star in my hands for right around $500 US brand new. Let's start with some case measurements and then work our way into why this is such a brilliant piece. The case diameter, including the crown guards, come in at 44.3mm, 45.6 measured diagonally to include the crown. The lug to lug is 48.6mm with a thickness of 14mm and an odd lug width of 21mm. Sized up to fit my roughly 7-inch wrist, this piece weighs in at 159 grams. That's 2 links removed. I think slightly slimmed down in a few areas, this piece would have been a knockout. But understanding that it's sized the way it is due to the inner rotating bezel is important. With the measurements out of the way, let's talk about the case itself. Brilliantly shaped and finished. We see a chamfered curve on the side of the lugs, which are finished in a high polish, and the side of the case and lug hoods being brushed. From the 3 o'clock side, we see a crown guard which has been screwed into the case. I will add, however, that the crown guard is shaped and chamfered as well. Great attention to detail. While we're here, we see 2 crowns. The crown at 2 o'clock is your conventional crown for adjusting the time, date and hand winding. The crown at 4 is a screw down crown set to control the inner rotating bezel. Taking a top down look at this piece, we see a high polished bezel which integrates seamlessly into the case. As we can see that the bezel sits in a channel and the lug hoods hug the bezel. Moving in from the bezel, we have a sapphire crystal with AR coating. This is where the Star Seeker starts to shine. For anyone out there that loves to see depth on their dial, this one is for you. We start with that rotating inner bezel ring which slopes down to your more conventional chapter ring with printed loomed hour markers. Both rotating ring and chapter ring have a matte finish. From there, the easiest way to describe it is another ring that has applied recessed hour indices and a date window. The hour indices and date window are finished off in a high polish and catches the light amazingly. Rectangular indices the entire way around with a double rectangle or Kit Kat like 12 o'clock marker. We take one step down and we've made it to the dial. On the dial itself we have an applied power reserve indicator which is done in a brushed finish, signifying 0 to 40 hours of power reserve. At 6 o'clock we see an applied Orient Star logo. The words Orient Star, automatic and in red GMT with a 24-hour track the entire way around the dial. Topping it off we have a high polished handset including the power reserve indicator and a red GMT hand. I will add the attention to detail on the hands are brilliant. Sized perfectly with the seconds and minute hand reaching that second layer chapter ring. The GMT hand extending over that, pointing to the rotating inner bezel, and the hour hand pointing right at the hour indices. I think all in all, the dial is well done. However, I do think the 24-hour markers on the dial could have been left off to declutter the dial a little bit. While we're looking at it, let's talk about the inner rotating bezel and 4 o'clock crown. The crown, once unscrewed, controls the rotating bezel. We need the rotating bezel, otherwise the hand labeled GMT will essentially only be a 24-hour indicator. Unlike conventional GMTs, where you set the GMT hand to your home time zone and you use the jump hour hand to set local time, here in the Time Seeker, the hour and GMT hand cannot be moved independently. With the rotating bezel, the theory remains the same, however, the execution is changed. You set your local time zone first, this time using the 2 o'clock crown, then you rotate the inner bezel to match your home time zone. Once using a GMT function this way, you begin to understand why the jump hour hand of the higher end GMTs becomes so valuable. Flipping this piece over, we see a screwed down display caseback showcasing the Orient 40P50, an automatic movement with hacking and hand winding capabilities. Throughout my almost 8 years of ownership, I haven't had any issues with this incredibly robust movement. On the caseback itself, we have some inscriptions. We see the words Orient Watch Co., made in Japan, water resistance 10 bar, top glass sapphire crystal, and the serial number. Moving on to the bracelet, we see something well above its price point. We get solid end links, through to a solid 3-piece design link, which is brushed but with 2 polished accents running down the center links, all held together by push pins, which then marry up to a machine clasp with twin trigger release. The bracelet adds tremendously to what this piece is trying to achieve. A well-rounded, robust sports piece that can pretty much do it all. The bracelet is incredibly comfortable on wrist, and as you all know, that is something I go on and on about. Now, for my final thoughts on the Orient Starseeker GMT. Overall, it's well made and finished. It sets out to do a job, and it does that well. When I picked it up at $500 it was great value. Over the past couple of years, I've seen them slowly trend upwards, getting closer to their initial retail price. It's at this price point where I'd say the value proposition has dwindled. If you can find yourself one of these around that $400 mark, I'd say jump on it. It packs a lot of punch, however, with the current asking prices online, I think there are better value pieces out there. Other than that, the dial itself is fairly cluttered. Cleaning the dial up a bit, again, would elevate this piece, as well as some refinements to the case dimensions. I'm sure Orient agreed, as a few years after this was released, a second generation Starseeker was released, with an upgraded movement to the 40P53, which was a true GMT movement, and didn't require an inner rotating bezel. The dial was cleaned up substantially. The second crown and crown guards were done away with, as well as the case size being refined. The second generation did lose a lot of that dial depth, which is something special in my opinion. If I had my time again, I would have waited and purchased the second generation Starseeker. Hindsight is a great thing. Nonetheless, at the right price, I think this piece deserves a place in any collection. Keep an eye out, and if you get lucky, definitely consider it. And just like that, we've come to the end of another video. If you like these videos, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really does help out a lot more than you may think. And as always, thank you for watching and stay safe.